This is the AI Executive Brief, and I'm Stephen Forte. This is our weekend edition where we put the headlines aside, pick one topic that matters, and go deep. No rapid fire, just clarity on something worth understanding well. This week, the thing that has been quietly killing your AI agent projects was never the AI, it was the plumbing, and Anthropic just took the plumbing off your hands. Let me give you a scenario. Call it the Alex scenario. Alex is your head of product or your VP of engineering. Smart, current, takes AI seriously. 6 months ago, Alex's team built an AI agent in a 2-week sprint. The demo was clean. The CEO, probably you, watched it work and said, great, ship it. And then nothing happened for 4 months. Not because the agent didn't work. It worked fine in the demo environment. What happened was that shipping a production agent turned out to require something nobody had scoped: infrastructure, sandboxed execution environments, session state management, credential handling, permissioning layers, observability tooling, error recovery, logging that a compliance team would actually accept. None of that was the AI. All of it was the scaffolding around the AI, and that scaffolding took your best engineers months to build before they could write a single line of agent logic. That is the gap between prototype and production that has been quietly eating AI ambition across every industry for the past 2 years. On April 9th, 2026, this week, Anthropic announced that your team no longer has to build that scaffolding themselves. They called it Claude Managed Agents. It is now in public beta on the Claude platform. And I am going to spend the next 15 minutes explaining exactly what it is, how it works, and what it means for the decisions you need to make in the next 30 days. Let's start with the simplest possible description. Claude Managed Agents is a suite of composable APIs. Your team defines what an agent is supposed to do, its tasks, its tools, its guardrails. Anthropic runs the infrastructure underneath it. That's the headline. The headline is actually the whole thing. Everything else is detail, and the detail matters. 4 capabilities ship with the platform. First, secure sandboxing. Each agent runs in its own isolated environment. It cannot reach outside its defined scope. It cannot accidentally touch a production database it was not given access to. The execution is walled. Second, long-running autonomous sessions. This is critical. A real business workflow does not take 30 seconds. It takes hours. Agents lose their context. They forget where they were. They stop in the middle of complex tasks because their memory ran out. Managed agents handle session persistence through disconnections. The agent can pick up where it left off without starting over. Third, multi-agent coordination. This one is in research preview right now, but it is worth understanding because it is where this is going. One agent can spawn and direct other agents. You parallelize complex work across a team of agents, each with its own scope and context window, coordinated by an orchestrator. This is the difference between one employee working on a project and a department working on a project. If that sounds like an overstatement, stay with me. Fourth, governance, scoped permissions, identity management, full execution tracing. Every tool call, every decision, every failure mode is inspectable through the Claude console. For regulated industries, financial services, healthcare, legal, government, this is the capability that has kept serious deployments on the sideline. The audit trail has to exist. The governance has to be built in. Until this week, building that was your team's problem. Now it is a managed service. The pricing model is consumption-based. Standard Claude platform token rates plus 8 cents per session hour of active runtime. For context, a 4-hour autonomous session costs 32 cents in session fees, plus whatever tokens the agent uses. The infrastructure cost is not the constraint. Early adopters who were in private beta include Notion, Asana, Rakuten, and Vibecode. The consistent report from those companies is weeks to production rather than months. Rakuten specifically reported a 10 times improvement in time to ship agents, with task success rates improving by up to 22 percentage points over standard prompting loops on hard problems. The hardest problems saw the biggest gains. Now let's go deeper. Because Claude Managed Agents is the product, but the engineering underneath it, what Anthropic calls the agent harness, is the insight worth understanding. This is what most coverage is missing. Here is the problem Anthropic was solving, and they were solving it on themselves before they packaged it for you. Building an AI agent to do one task is not hard. Building an AI agent to work autonomously for 4 hours on a complex multi-step project and without losing context, without overrating its own output, without stopping prematurely because it convinced itself it was done, that is the hard problem. Anthropic's researchers spent months on this. The core finding, you cannot solve it with one agent. You solve it with three. They call it the three-agent harness: planner, generator, evaluator. Each agent has exactly one job. No agent does two jobs. The handoffs between them are explicit, structured, and designed so that what one agent produces the next can pick up cleanly, even if hours have passed, even if the context has been reset. Let me walk you through each one. The planner takes your prompt, 1 to 4 sentences. That is all you give it. What it returns is not a task list. It returns a full product specification, scope, architecture, feature set, priority. For something like a software build, that might be a 16-feature spec organized across 10 implementation rounds. The instruction to the planner is deliberate: aim ambitious, stay high level, avoid granular detail. Granular detail at the planning stage causes error cascades later when the generator tries to follow instructions that turned out to be wrong at the implementation level. The planner's job is vision and structure, not execution. The generator takes the planner's spec and builds. It works in rounds, one feature at a time, one sprint at a time. At the end of each sprint, it self-evaluates before passing its work to the evaluator. It can refine or pivot based on feedback. It does not just execute instructions mechanically. It has strategic latitude to make judgment calls within the spec. The evaluator is the most important agent in the harness, and it is the one that most people underestimate. It does not read the output and say whether it looks correct. It interacts with the live application. Using a tool called Playwright, it navigates pages, clicks through interfaces, tests API endpoints, checks database states. It screenshots what it sees and studies it carefully before producing its assessment. The grading criteria are calibrated in advance. 4 dimensions, each with hard thresholds. If the output fails a threshold, the evaluator does not pass it. It writes a detailed critique, identifies the specific failure, and sends it back to the generator for a rework cycle. Iterations can run 5 to 15 times per build. Here is the reason this works, and here is the principle that transfers directly to your business. Prithvi Rajasekaran, the engineering lead at Anthropic Labs who designed this, put it simply: separating the agent doing the work from the agent judging it proves to be a strong lever to address this issue. The issue is self-evaluation. Agents overrate their own output. This is not a quirk of Anthropic's models. It is a documented property of any system, human or AI, that generates and then judges the same work. Conflict of interest is structural. The evaluator is there because self-assessment does not scale. Think about where that principle already applies in your company and where it does not. The context problem deserves its own moment because it is the one that took the longest to solve and the one that will affect your deployments most immediately. An AI agent's memory lives in its context window. Every new session starts with a clean slate. For short tasks, that is fine. For a 3-hour build, it is catastrophic. The agent reaches the middle of a complex task, its context fills up, and it loses the thread of everything that happened before. Anthropic calls this context anxiety in its milder form. The agent starts to feel the constraint approaching and begins wrapping up prematurely. Left unchecked, it will declare completion on a half-built system because it has run out of runway to remember what complete was supposed to look like. The solution in the harness is what they call structured handoff artifacts. The agent's state does not live in its context window. It lives in files, JSON specifications, progress logs that function like a scientist's lab notes, Git commits after every meaningful unit of work. When the next session begins, the agent reads the progress file and picks up from a defined state, not from memory. Artem Bredikhin put it precisely: long-running AI agents fail for a simple reason. Every new context window is amnesia. The breakthrough is structure, JSON feature specs, enforced testing, commit-by-commit progress, and an init script that ensures every session starts with a working app. That is the design principle. Not better memory, externalized memory. The state lives in the file system, not in the model. Anthropic's Claude Agent SDK, the developer tool underneath Managed Agents, also handles a pattern they call the Ralph loop. When an agent claims a task is complete, the loop checks. Is it actually complete by the specified criteria? If not, the agent is sent back. This sounds obvious. It is surprisingly necessary. Autonomous agents have a documented tendency to declare victory when they are fatigued, or whatever the computational equivalent of fatigued turns out to be. The Ralph loop just asks, "Are you really done?" And the agent, to its credit, usually admits it isn't. Let's talk about what this means for your company this month. First, find your stalled agent project. You have one. Every organization with a serious AI team has a prototype that worked but never shipped. That is your first test case for managed agents. The public beta is available now. The onboarding documentation includes a quick start that gets a basic agent running in under an hour. Your team is not waiting on Anthropic's release schedule. The release was this week. Second, stop scoping agent projects by AI capability and start scoping them by workflow. The question that killed most enterprise agent projects was, can the AI handle this? That was usually the wrong question. The right question is, what does the workflow look like? Who owns each step, and what does done look like? Define that first. The AI, once you have it, will be the easier part. Third, separate your generators from your evaluators. This is the design principle that transfers from the three-agent harness into every AI process in your organization. If you are using AI to produce content, write reports, generate recommendations, or draft anything consequential, who is evaluating that output? If the answer is the same model that generated it or nobody because it looked fine, you have the Anthropic problem before they solved it. Put a separate evaluation step in the loop. It does not have to be AI. A structured human review with defined criteria is the same principle. What matters is that the producer and the judge are not the same entity. Fourth, take the governance requirements seriously before you scale. The governance layer in managed agents is there. Scoped permissions, identity tracked execution, audit trails, but governance does not configure itself. If you are in financial services, healthcare, or any regulated context, you need to design the permissioning before you deploy agents broadly, not after. The infrastructure is now managed. The policy decisions are still yours. Fifth, get on the multi-agent coordination waitlist. The ability for one agent to spawn and direct a team of agents, parallelizing complex workflows across multiple independent context windows, is in research preview. This is the capability that changes the scale of what a single person can accomplish. Rakuten's engineers are already building what they call ambient agents, 24 parallel Claude code sessions orchestrating their monorepo, completing work that would take a month manually in a matter of hours. The waitlist access request is at claude.ai. I want to close with the frame I think matters most, because it is the one that changes how you make decisions about this. For 2 years, the conversation about AI agents has been almost entirely about model capability. Is the model smart enough? Can it reason? Can it handle my domain? That conversation was not wrong. Capability matters, but it was a proxy for a different question that nobody was asking out loud. Even when the model is capable enough, can we actually deploy it? The answer until this week was yes, eventually, after months of infrastructure work that has nothing to do with the AI. Anthropic just moved that constraint, not eliminated. The model capability question is still real, and the hardest problems still require the best models. But the infrastructure question, the one that was killing projects between prototype and production, the one that was eating 6 months of engineering time before a single agent ever ran in production, that one just became someone else's problem. The executives who see this as an infrastructure shift are the ones who will have production agents running this quarter. The ones who wait to see if the capability questions resolve further will be benchmarking demos in Q3 while their competitors are already in operation. You have spent 2 years asking whether AI agents are ready. This week, a more interesting question arrived. Is your organization ready for AI agents? That is the AI Executive Brief for Saturday, April 11th, 2026. I'm Stephen Forte. If this was useful, share it with someone who needs to hear it. I'll be back Monday with more. Until then, stay sharp.